Let me start my little timer. Oh, okay, we already started. So Sarah, Fabi has been practicing doing her show, and we're going to do it as, whether it's radio or video, and I know that Fabi's really comfortable doing more video-geared stuff, so I thought this was a good way to practice both, to have her doing on screen, but also delivering her opinion in a longer way than she would in an interview on TV or whatever. So, Fabi, how do you feel?
You're good. I'm good.
Yeah?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Well, what I'd love to do is just, kind of get the ball rolling and just have you start. We'll practice it as a 2 segments, just half hour. And so I want you to think for a sec about how you want to start it, and then what I'm going to do is just treat it just like another show. Now, there is a group chat function, and I don't see. Fabi, can you see this? Can you see the chat on the side? Sarah can.
Yes.
You see it? Okay, good. So that's where I'll put your minutes and stuff, because I do want to make sure I can practice, keeping you to time. So we'll do 2 segments. We'll do an 11-minute and an 8-minute, if you're comfortable with that. We can actually start with the 8-minute to get you warmed up, and then we'll take a 3-minute break in between, and then we'll do the 11-minute with a caller, or, yeah, someone who's calling in with a question. How's that sound?
I think this sounds good.
Okay. So I would be happy to introduce you and make this, legit, but then I'm like, well, then you don't get to introduce yourself, and I don't want to take that away from you because that's part of the practice for you. So I'm just going to introduce the upcoming thing, and then you're going to start. So let me get the timer up. And remember to take your time.
If I make a mistake, do I just continue going?
It's live, yeah. No going back, no do-overs. There's no mistakes either. There's just you talking, and if you make a weird fumble, that's called being a human and talking, and it's fine.
Okay.
So then we'll just, you say, well, and you can say, well, let me back up. Here's what I'm really trying to say. Just like you would if you were talking to just a person, and so you wouldn't worry about messing up during a conversation. You would just make it more clear. So if that happens, that's what you're going to do.
Okay.
All right, so coming up next, we have a really fascinating program. We have Fabiana Saba joining us. She is a parenting expert, and she has some interesting and compelling insights on what it takes to raise kinder, more empathic children. So without further ado, I open up the floor to Fabiana Saba. Fabi, you're on.
Hi, Terry. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Fabiana Saba. I'm a mother of 2 beautiful little girls. I am a former model. I'm a television hostess. And I am an advocate to raising your child to being kind and feeling empathy. And the thing with that is a lot of times parents get confused. They think that by raising a kind child, they're raising somebody who's not going to be strong. And I got something to read for you, and I want you to pay a lot of attention because this is going to change the way you think about parenting. And this is from Dr. Aletha Salter. He's a PhD, author of 4 parenting books. And he says, if you're concerned about your children's future in a tough world, the best preparation you can give them is psychological health, which can only occur when they are treated with love, trust, and respect. Children who feel self-confident, proud, and powerful stand a far better chance of thriving and even of changing our oppressive society. And I tell you more. It's just not by the respect that you give them and show them. It's also the respect you teach them to give to others. That's how your child can grow up to be a successful adult. Forget what you know about success, because I'm going to change the way you view parenting right now. And you can tell me, I already teach my child to not have prejudice. I tell my child about people's difference. And maybe you do, and I'm sure you do. We all do. We're all trying to do the best to our children. But I'm asking you to look in the mirror and just be honest with yourself. Do you have any prejudice? The answer is going to be yes, you do. If you really look inside yourself, you do. I have prejudice. Everybody has some type of prejudice. There's some types of preconceived notion that we have. And we're going to teach your child, even if we deny it, even if we tell them differently, unless we look in the mirror and change completely, the way we think about prejudice. And the first step is to recognizing your own prejudice. Just go in the mirror, look at yourself, and say, you know what? I feel insecure when I cross the street and see somebody who looks rough, looks differently, or has a different coloring. Because even though I'm telling my child we're all the same, when I cross the street, I hold my purse tight. If you do that, that's prejudice. For me, I had a lot of prejudice with mothers that worked. Yes, I admit. And I've learned by opening my mind that a lot of mothers that work do so much more than stay-at-home moms. That they care about their kid. And it really depends on the parent. And that's the thing. That's why you can't judge people. I've met both sides of moms who sacrifice themselves more than you can imagine for their kids. When I opened my mind and I saw that, I stood up and applauded the parents at work. I was in awe with what they do. You can only do that by opening your mind. Because if not, you're making comments around your child. You're making little attitude around your child that's going to teach them prejudice. And when you teach them prejudice, you're teaching them to judge others and to judge themselves. You're teaching them that it's not okay to be certain things, that there's disapproval in who you are if you're different. It's going to start wanting to be like everybody else, and you don't want that. You want your child to be strong and stand up for what's right. You want your child to be able to connect to others. And being open-minded is the step to do it. I know that you do the best for your child, and you say, I want my child to be successful. So I'm focusing on teaching them to be strong and to be tough and competitive. And I'm telling you, your child cannot be successful if they don't have empathy and respect for others, if they're not kind. Another prejudice that we hear about a lot is with gay people. Yes. I hear people saying, I hear friends of mine saying, oh no, I love gay people. I have gay friends as long as my child's not gay, or as long as, you know, they don't kiss in the street. They can be gay. They can be gay in their house. Yes, they could, right? Does that sound non-judgmental? Because to me, that sounds like prejudice. And then again, you're teaching your child to judge others. You're not teaching your child not to be gay. That has nothing to do with it. Instead, teach your child that everybody can be whoever they want, because to them it's not just going to be about gay. It's going to be so much bigger than that. It's going to be about everything. Teach them people can be what they want to be, as long as they're good, as long as they have love in their hearts. They can be themselves, and so can you, honey. Because trust me, this is not going to make them gay. If they're gay, they're gay. And you know what? If they are gay, and you said that, they're going to have self-esteem enough to grow up into who they are and demand respect from others. That's also a good lesson. And if they're not, they've learned to respect others and to respect themselves, because being different, what you're teaching them is that being different is fine as long as you're a good person. There are so many things that can help your child with teaching them empathy. I want to read very fast again to you 8 reasons why kindness should be taught in schools by Psych Central. But actually, I'm telling you, you can do it in your home. Teaching kindness results in the following. Happy child. This is all research. Increased peer acceptance, because it helps with their ability to form meaningful connections. Improved health and decreased stress. Greater sense of belonging and improved self-esteem. Increased feelings of gratitude. Better concentration and improved results. Less bullying and reduced depression. And this you can teach them. You can teach them by showing them to respect others, like we said before. And I want to teach you also how to show them self-respect by you respecting yourself, by having kindness towards yourself. I want to hear your opinions. I want to hear what you have to say about it. I want to to go on Twitter and send me your questions. I'm at Fabi Saba. I want you to email me if you have questions. I answer it. It's askfabi, F-A-B-I, at gmail.com. I want to help you with this. I think together, parents that care will change the next generation. And we'll create a generation of secure and strong and kind human beings. And we can do this together. So email me, ask me your questions, and let's do this. We're going to change them, and I'm going to help you. As soon as we come back, I want you to help in your own kindness. So right now, go in front of the mirror and say, I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm going to be right back. And don't forget, I'm going to be kind to myself. The prejudice you just stripped away, you're going to strip that away with your own self. You're going to be...
Nice. Oh, timer went off. Yeah, you want to give yourself a few seconds again to remember to reintroduce yourself so that people are like, wait, who is this again? You know what I mean? And because the name is so different, if you want to have people follow you on Twitter, just spell it out, F-A-B-I-S-A-B-A, if that's what it is, I forget. But yeah, so that people can, because it is a little tricky. But yes, really great energy, very nice. It's a very rich and complicated topic for sure. And so always, my thing is, what is the hook that we're hanging our hat on from the beginning? Now, I love that you have outside sources. Kudos to you for doing some outside research. That's important. Now, I don't know who this guy is. I missed it, the name, you know, it said very quickly, but the opinion is yours. He is your backup. So you're not going to change my life by reading me a thing. You're going to change my life by telling me something that you believe. So I'd rather have you say the opinion and then say, in fact, Dr. John whatever agrees with me. And in this article on the Huffington Post, he writes, and you read one short quote from him if you want. But remember, as soon as you go into reading mode and you're reading to us, we zone out. People don't tend to want to be read to in a way. They're just like, oh, because the voice changes. As soon as I'm doing something and then I start reading, you don't realize how much your voice changes when you read. So that's something to be aware of. So you tell me, what was the most important thing that guy said that you wanted to make clear for me?
With the first one?
Yeah, like what was your opinion?
Well,
You started kind of with, you know, a lot of parents think that they think this, and it was very they. We're talking again now, we've removed it, we're talking about this third party, and remember, it's about me, right? I'm the selfish listener, I need to hear it about me. So what part of this did you want me to understand?
Right, this doctor has said that a lot of research has shown that when you feel empathy and is kind to your child and respect your child, they will grow up to be much more successful, because having mental health is the most important thing, and that's what creates mental health to them.
Okay, so that's more important. I don't even need to have that read to me, unless it's a very short quote and you want to read it, and then you have to restate it. Because what happened is, I was distracted for half a second, and as soon as you were done reading it, we didn't circle back. You didn't underscore that opinion, underscore. It's true. Raising an empathic child, a kinder child, ensures their success far and above over their GPA or whatever you want to say, whatever your opinion is. But again, it was a great premise, and there's nothing wrong with what you're doing this thing about. I just want to make sure it starts with a strong opinion, and I didn't get that. I want to hear, raising a child who is empathic and kind is the most important thing you can do for your child's success. It is the most important. I know you think grades, I know you think being physically fit or being smart or being all these things. Nothing's more important than empathy. I was just reading a piece in the Wall Street Journal, and Dr. John Smith says, and I quote, ba 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 ba. That's as long as I want to read. Then you say, it's true. This is the thing, and you keep kind of hammer on it for a minute. Now, the interesting thing is where we get into prejudice, because what I want to understand is this. Are you telling parents, you're prejudiced and we need you to get over it, or you're prejudiced and you need to hide it from your kids so they don't catch it, or if you raise your kid with prejudice, they're going to have problems? Because the truth is, if you look in the mirror and say, do I have any prejudices, people will say no, or they'll say, I do, but I have them for good reason. So people's prejudices serve them. It's not like just harmful self-talk where you want to eradicate that, right? Because it's bad for us to keep talking negatively to ourselves. But if you were to ask a parent who has some prejudice, well, you know, you don't want to have that. It hurts the kid. The mother might go, well, look, it's fine. You know, black people are fine. I just don't want my daughter marrying one. And she is going to use that prejudice. She's doing it on purpose because she wants her child to not be involved with a black person. She might not say that, but her prejudice is meant to control the kid. She's not going, oh my God, I got to get rid of this prejudice. It's hurting my kid. They're going, no, I really don't want my kid to be gay or marry a black person or do this or anything. So realize, I think we need to be a little, it's almost like I think you're being very sweet about it. And I think the truth is people have prejudices because they are trying to control their children. And they think it's for the kid's best. They think it's for their best interest that you keep them away from this person or that person who has no money and is bad influence. They're doing it to protect the kid. So it's hard to cure someone of something they believe in that they believe will be safer for their kids.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part, right? Because you can't cure me if I hate Jewish people. You can't cure me of that because I don't want to be cured of it and I don't want my daughter marrying a Jew. That's the idea.
Yeah, I understand.
It's hard to take that on. So you have to decide, what are you taking on? If you're going to talk me out of my prejudice, that's a whole other show, and it actually has less to do with kids and more to do with me and my own beliefs. Yeah. But you say, hey, get rid of these prejudices, they're hurting your kids. You're like, no, actually my prejudice is keeping my kid from being gay. That's what they think.
I think it should be more about being inclusive, teaching your child to be inclusive and respectful as opposed to...
Okay, teaching the kid to be inclusive is important, but and I think that might be your angle. Because if you want to cure someone of their fear of Jews, if that's their real issue, good luck. They're not going to change it for you. They're not going to change it for their kid. So I think the idea should really be about assume you have prejudices. So I think you should say, look, I know you don't think you do. We all have prejudices. We have them. I have them. You started to talk about yours, but interestingly, you didn't own up to yours. You said, I used to have a prejudice about women who work, but I am so open to it now. Well, what was that? You need to be willing to paint yourself negatively here if you're going to really own up to it. And you can say, I used to think working mothers were not as good a mother as a stay-home mother. I used to think that, you know, I just did. I was very proud of being a stay-at-home mom, and I quit my job when I get pregnant, and I really looked with disdain. I could fucking own it, you know, because then people go, oh my God, she thought that, and you can say, and then I realized I was wrong about that. Okay, then we have a picture, an image of you healing yourself of that prejudice, which is a really big deal. Yeah. So if you're going to own it, and if not, then you say, look, you have prejudices, but it is in your child's best interest to not put fear in them. I know you think you're protecting them by doing that, but in fact you're making them fearful of other people. And then you got to give some examples. So I think that's probably the best angle, is to make sure that you are not passing on fear.
Yeah, I understand.
So that works. Now the 8 reasons at the end, you said, now I'm going to read very fast 8 reasons. I was like, oh, please don't do that. Please don't read fast through 8 reasons. I can't follow it. I don't know what it is. Psych Central has some great information. Pick 2 or 3 that appeal to you and put them in terms of your belief. So let's pick one of those. What's one of those things that you really liked from that list?
I think one thing that people don't know is that, you know, a great, better concentration and improved results.
Well, what, I didn't even know what that was. You're saying I lost track of it, and all I was doing was listening, and I was like, okay, 8 reasons why it's important to teach empathy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So this is the great part. This is the benefits. This is great, and I'm glad you found that, because then you make that yours. Rather than say, I'm going to tell you about what someone else said, you say, look, I know empathy can make your child happier, more well-adjusted, and more successful. And I found this article, and in fact, they say it here, and then you say one of them. You say, more focus. Isn't that amazing? Teaching your kid to do this can actually, so then you teach it rather than just handing us the article, because anyone can Google that, right? So I love it. Use it more and own it more and have your opinion around those ideas. So you don't have to read all 8. You can say here are 2 of my favorite, and I'll tell you another one you'll never guess after the break. One of the most surprising benefits of empathy when we come back. Now I want to stick around, right? So you tease it. So let's pick up there. I want you to now tease the outgoing segment with one of these other ones, these tips. And then we'll come back and keep moving ahead. So we won't repeat this segment. We're just going to keep going ahead. So why don't you do a short tease?
So when we come back, starting from so when we come back?
Yeah.
So when we come back, I want to tell you the most surprising of all the benefits you can have from teaching your child empathy. And it's not what you're thinking, it's not what you're expecting, and it's going to really change the way you want to.
What's wrong? That was great. Why you are getting in your own way. You sound great, and then you actually interrupt yourself. What was wrong with what you just did? It sounded terrific.
Okay.
Try that rap again, because I don't want you getting in your own way. I got to get bad Fabi out of good Fabi's way.
And when we come back, I want to share with you the most surprising benefit from raising your child to be kind. I mean, this is not what I expected. This is not what you expect. No, I don't want to say this is not what I expect.
Why not?
Yeah? Okay.
But there's nothing wrong with it. Don't worry about splicing individual words. Just make sure you're wrapping it up. Be like, it's not what you expect. It's not what I expected. And end. So
okay.
Try that again. And don't worry about the individual words. Just make it. Just be you.
Okay. So when we come back, I want to share with you the most surprising reason why it's important to raise your child with kindness and empathy. And you're not going to believe what it is. It's absolutely not what you expect. I'm Fabiana Saba. This is Raising Kindness, and we're going to be right back.
Terrific. All right. So now we're coming back to the next segment. So we're not going to repeat the exact thing, but think for a minute. You're about to introduce this other tip, but I want you to start with the opinion about what empathy can do for your child. And then say, and here is the tip. So start with the opinion, then move to that tip, and then really just talk about it, about why it means so much to you. Okay, so we're coming back in 5, 4, 3. And you're on.
We're back, and I'm Fabiana Saban. This is Raising Kindness. And I'm here to tell you that you have to raise your child to be kind, respectful, and feel empathy. This is the only way you're going to raise a healthy and happy human being. And the thing is, there's so many benefits to it, and we're always talking about the benefits of, raising your child not to be a bully, raising your child to be happy, to be respectful, raising your child not to be depressed is one of them. It's a great one, but there's one that caught my attention, because parents always tell me that yes, this is all good, but it's a competitive world, and I have to change the way they learn to school, and the whole thing is about being competitive and getting grades. And I hear you. I worry about my child's future too. So when I read this, and it's really surprising, it says better concentration and improved results in school. So by increasing serotonin, okay, which is very important for learning and memory, mood, sleep, and all of those things. And by having a positive outlook, allows them greater attention spans. You can help the attention span. That's huge, because I know every parent has a problem with their kids' attention span. Kids can't concentrate. And now you get this attention span bettered by teaching them empathy and kindness. It's a win-win. I don't want to hear anymore from any parent out there that by teaching kindness, you're not helping your child in school, because you are. So you're not only helping them socially because they can now connect with others, you're helping them to have a better attention span. There's no excuse anymore. And one way to teach them respect and kindness starts with you. It starts with you being kind to yourself. It starts with you showing respect to yourself in front of your child, in front of yourself. It's with you looking in the mirror and accepting who you are, and accepting that to your child, you are the most beautiful, perfect, amazing human being, and you don't want to break that. And it's really up to you. I want to hear what you think, and I want to hear your questions and your fears on the subject. I'm going to go to the phone Margie's on the line. Hi, Margie.
Hi, Fabi. I totally respect everything about, like, you seem so nice. I'm sure that and I know it's important to be kind, but that's what my mom always told me, and I always wanted to be nice to people, and I was kind of not, that was not the most popular kid, and I was pushed around quite a bit in junior high, and now I have a daughter who's about to turn 9, and I see the same pattern in her, and I really, most important for me is I want her to be able to stand up for herself and to be tough back to the girls who are tough to her. And I don't understand how I know that being kind and being nice to the bullies does not make them less of a bully. And I understand you say that it doesn't make you weak, but in this case, kindness doesn't seem to be a priority here.
Well, there's a difference, Margie, and thank you so much for calling and sharing your story. And there's a huge difference between being kind and just being nice. I'm not telling you to go and just be nice to everybody. To feel empathy for a person is to understand why they do something and put yourself in their shoes. You have to teach your child not to go there and just be nice to the bullies and try to be their friends, because that's not what being kind and feeling empathy is. But to actually look at the bullies with their weakness and say, maybe this is a person who's not loved at home, who's weak, who's afraid, who is insecure, and who is doing this. You don't need to go and be nice with them. You don't need to go and try to hug them and say, oh, it's going to be okay. But what you do need is to face it for what it is. It's going to give them self-confidence to face the bullies and understand that they're kids with problems. They're going to feel empathy. Use the empathy to give you strength, to know also that people are just human. And by doing that, she's going to have self-confidence. The other thing is your own self-confidence. Are you self-confident?
Me? No. I have terrible self-confidence.
Do you think that maybe you could be giving that vibe to your child?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, she gets it from me every which way. I mean, I was like that genetically, and also I've been that way. I've tried
genetically. Let's think about modeling. Okay, the genetics you can't do anything about, but you can model self-confidence. You can go in front of the mirror and model self-confidence and change the way you feel. I was just talking about being kind to yourself, and I want to share this with everybody who is listening. Margie can do it, and everyone should do it, which is to go in front of the mirror and be kind to yourself. Feel empathy to yourself, because you're going to give that vibe to your child. You're going to teach your child to be confident and teach your child to stand up to bullies. Thank you so much, Margie. I'm going to talk about this, and this is for you too, so please keep listening to this. You're going to go to the mirror, and you're going to stop with, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm weak, I'm old, I'm wrinkled, whatever it is that is your negative. You're going to change your wordings about it. When you're eating a salad in front of your child, you don't say, oh, I'm eating the salad because I'm so fat. You're going to say, this is healthy, I'm going to eat this because it's healthy. You're going to change your words about beauty. You're going to start talking about confidence. You're going to start talking about, I'm going to go to the gym, not because, oh, I go to the gym because this is so flabby. Ugh. No. I'm going to go to the gym because it's, you know what? Mommy wants to be strong. Mommy wants to be healthy. Why don't we go do something outside? You change it around. I have a friend who's beautiful, who's constantly talking about eating. Oh, I don't want to eat this, too much sugar, you know, I have this little fat here, this fat here. One day, his 6-year-old child, who's so sweet and so pretty, comes out in a princess dress and asks me, do I look fat? This is a 6-year-old child. Her mother does not want to teach her that. I know her mother, and she's the sweetest person. The same way you don't want to teach your child to be insecure. But her mother did teach her that, and you are teaching your child to be insecure. When you are not being kind to yourself, when you are complaining about your own flaws, when you are using this constant insecurity in front of your child, I told her, no, you're so pretty. You really are like a princess because you're floating, and it looks to me like you're having so much fun. And I called my friend to the side, and I told her, we're going to change your wordings. You're going to change how you express your insecurities. And from now on, you go to that mirror and you be kind to yourself. Because if you want this little girl who thinks you're the most incredible thing in the world to not be disappointed, just be that incredible. I'm going to take one more phone call. We have time for one more. So Kelly is on the line. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, I actually take issue with a different topic here about this, which is that I have a 5-year-old girl, and she is pretty darn cute. But the thing that bothers me is that's what everyone's always telling her. I noticed it with my mother, and anyone sees, oh, she's a pretty, just in that story you told about the little girl, she wants to dress up as a princess. I get it. I was at that age once too. But my fear is that our problem is we just keep telling girls how pretty they are, and then that's all they know what their value is. Like, you can't tell a 5-year-old how brilliant they are yet. I mean, maybe they haven't been to school. They're nothing but cute. And my fear is that we are just reducing them to how pretty they are. And I just don't do it. I don't want to heap those compliments on my daughter because I think it's pointless.
I agree with you, actually. I think that's all, again, in the wordings. I do think, though, and one thing I disagree with you is when you say they don't have anything else but being cute. That's so not true. When you focus on other things.
I don't like that we reduce it to that.
And you're right. And there's a way to do it. And one thing I do with my kids is when they come out, as opposed to complimenting them even on how cute the clothes they picked up is, I always say, you know, I love how you mix the color. It's very creative. When your kid is doing some work, as opposed to going, oh my God, this painting is so cute, you can praise their effort to make the painting. So just choosing your words around your child by saying, I love that you put so much effort into this painting. I can see you worked really hard. You just told her how nice it is that she's hardworking and that she puts effort into things, and that's very important. So as opposed to telling our kids, and you're right, how pretty they are, and you still want them to be confident with the way they look, and that is important, but you can talk about, and it goes back to when I was saying, instead of going to the gym saying you're going to do something to your body, doing something to your health. You can always say, you look so healthy. Oh, I can see you went to the sun, you're glowing, you look so healthy, you got tan. I'm like, oh my God, you got so tan, you're so cute. The wordings are very important. And we do want our girls to be self-confident. Always compliment them in their hard work when they're doing work. And they're not giving up when they're doing something. In their creativity when they're putting up clothes or dresses. It's very important because those are things that you want to see come out. I hope I helped you, Kelly. Thank you so much for calling. So from now on, just make sure that when you're fighting for that one thing for your child, that it will be to teach them to be kind and feel empathy. And I'll be here, and you can't miss it next week. We are going to talk about much more ways to teach your child to be kind and to feel empathy and to change the way you view parenting. We are going to raise these kids to be happy, healthy individuals. I'm Fabiana Saab, and this is Raising Kindness.
Nice. Very nice. Nice handling of the time there at the end. You slowed down and said your name perfect. Sarah, do you have any other feedback? Just put you on the spot. Because I have some stuff, but I want her to hear from other people too.
Yeah, no, I loved how opinionated you are with the callers. Like you really, you are not afraid to go in there and just be like, no, I don't agree with that at all. Like, this is what you need to do, which is brilliant and great. I loved everything you said about modeling. I would have loved to hear even more of that, like at the very top of the segment, because I think that's the strongest part of the opinion. This idea that how many of us carry insecurities because we looked at our moms and saw it's not what they told us as much as how they interacted with our dads or with other women or how they carried themselves. That's a huge topic, and it's something that I think people abandon when they become a mom. And I think you can talk about that too. Other moms you see who are so focused on their kids that they're not investing in themselves or modeling anymore.
Such a powerful. You're right, Sarah. That is really powerful. And in fact, Fabi, that could, taking the prejudice, like we're saying, what's that, Sarah?
But that could be a whole show topic to me.
Oh, yeah. Because prejudice, is, as I said, is a little thorny because parents do want to control who's right for their kids, and who they should be. But the really compelling thing is, Fabi, what you always say, and I think you can even amp that up with on this show, which is you think that the best way to build your child's self-esteem is to tell them how wonderful they are, when actually you should be telling yourself that. That becomes, that's,
yeah.
What you're saying is it's not how often you compliment the kid. They are locked onto you and they're learning it from you. So that I love the salad example, and shifting that is very key, and I wrote something down about that. Um, with this last caller, though, by the way, you're right when you said, okay, it's not just about looks, and she, you know, it wasn't that. But I think you need to acknowledge, too, say, you're right. There is a tremendous burden on girls to be pretty, and it is our fault because we make such a fuss about how pretty they are early on that is a problem. So you don't have to pretend that that wouldn't exist if this mother didn't do it. This is how the world does it. If you have a little girl out in the street, oh, your daughter is so beautiful, she's so pretty, you can acknowledge it. And remember, your cred comes from, hey, guess what? I know this. I worked as a model. I understand the pressure on looks. And in fact, I think that gives you a lot of interesting, like, I want callers to call and be like, but I don't understand, you're a model, how are you not emphasizing looks and your kids, whatever. You know how important it is. So you can't deny that it's important because it can be a career, and you know you have traded on your looks for your life, you know, to survive for a while at least. So I think it's okay to get in there and go, you're right. There is far too much attention played to girls' appearance. It starts so young. So what I say is, rather than saying you look so pretty in the suit, and then you say, look how creative you were with doing that. And I love that shift. But in order to make that shift work, you have to acknowledge earlier, you're right. You can connect with the caller. You don't have to go, no, it's not. Just don't talk about that. Like, you can get on the same page with them.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yes, definitely, and I agree with you. I did comment that I agreed with her with that, with the kids.
You agree with her, but I want you to, and not just go, yeah, but state your claim and your opinion.
I actually think that's, like, even can be a whole segment about this because, for example, it took me a long time to give Barbie dolls to my kids. I was very against with my first.
Oh, that's a big one.
So I was very against anything. Like, my kids don't watch the new Strawberry Shortcake because the old one used to have short hair and be a little chubby, and now they're skinny with long hair, and it's all about the new Strawberry Shortcake. They watch the old Strawberry Shortcake. So I feel that, but I couldn't fight the princess thing. So they do use a lot of princess stuff. But we're constantly talking about in my house that, you know, and you can use that if you're religious, or you can use something else. But I use with them, when they talk about anybody else's beauty or themselves, they said, don't forget that God can only see the beauty within you. So your beauty outside does not mean that much.
Right. So that's a good lesson. You can say, you can get rid of her and then say, we come back, I'll tell you why I did finally decide to give my kids Barbie dolls, because then that's interesting. Because if you say, well, I don't give my kids Barbie dolls, or maybe you don't. I don't know if you did or
I do now, because you can't fight the world. They have to learn to deal with it. So there has to be
the interesting
conversation. So now they have Barbie dolls and they have dresses, princess dresses. And they go to people's house and they see certain things in television I wish they didn't see. It has to do with beauty. I try to cut the media that has to do with any beauty.
Well, you have to, yes, then that is the key. That's what you have to acknowledge. You have to say, we'll come back, I'll tell you why. Even though I don't want to emphasize appearances, I did decide to give my daughters Barbie dolls. When we come back, I'll tell you why I believe it's a great idea, or why it's a fine idea, whatever. So that's good, because it trades on that. It's a big topic. And I just lost my train of thought. Just a small thing. Oh, go ahead, Sarah.
I had another small thing, because you were talking so much and giving this advice. When you were talking about your friend who you stepped in with and said, hey, we got to change your language on this, I got intrigued and then wanted to know, well, did it work? Did you actually, like, how did your friend respond to that? Were they like, hey, get out of my parenting? Or were they like, no, you're right, and did you work with her? Like, I wanted to know, like,
no, you're
what
right.
happened next?
She's a good friend, and she said she didn't realize that what she was doing was affecting her child, because she said to me, the first thing she said is, well, but I tell her she can eat it, and then she's beautiful, and I tell her she's okay. I said, yeah, but she still hears you talk about yourself, and that's what she's learning, because she wants to be like you.
Right.
She understood that, and she's changing her wordings little by little. It's something she has to work on. And
very good point.
In front of me, I point out to her. I say, like, you know, like.
Yeah. You're like, it's like accountability partners.
So it's going little by little, and we see results. You know, it should be about empowering her child, and if she's putting herself down, then all she's teaching her child is put her.
But that's a good point, Sarah, because I've said this with Sarah herself. Make sure you circle back and close the loop on a story. And you can, and you can go back to him and be like, and when I told my friend that, here's what she said, da-da-da-da-da. And so that way we hear the end of that story.
Even right up, first thing she said was that she didn't do it to the child. That she never said to the child she was fat or anything. So that would have been good for me to say that.
Well, no, that's right. You just want to, like, when you start a story, make sure that even if you go off and talk about something else for a bit, you come back and wrap it and sort of put a lid on that story so that we know we're moving on. But I do think it's a really powerful one. And as I said, I think it's a sweet spot for you because you know that business. Yeah. And you know what it is that...
And I don't have one fashion magazine in my house. I haven't read a Vogue, a Glamour, or anything in years and years, probably a decade. Because I don't want my children or even myself to be slave to what people think beauty is.
Right. And then eventually they're going to start buying and reading those magazines on their own because it's sort of a rite of passage for women, right, to see those things. And so how do you handle it, you know?
Because I handle the Barbies. Eventually they start asking me for Barbies, and I didn't want to make a bigger deal out of it. Once you make a big deal, then it's worse.
It's true.
Well, that's a good point. So you can see that there's far more. I mean, we just did 2 segments, and now I'm like, oh, but what the third one would be great to talk about Barbies. Like, you could easily do, I mean, an hour. We're just talking about stuff, but if I just would shut up and let you do it, you would have done a whole show by now, by the course. So there's plenty of material, and you're really mastering that. You're handling the calls wonderfully. You're highly energized, good ins and outs. I mean, Sarah, like, this is the... When I look at someone who's at where she is now, I say she's ready to do it. You know, she's ready to do anything. She can do a show. She can do a radio show. You can, you know, the way you sound on this, I want you to go back to this recording and just listen to it. Don't even look at it. I mean, you're comfortable because you know you're being seen, and so there's a way that you present yourself and the way that you do this when you're being seen that does positively impact your delivery, but you need to just be able to do that anywhere. Because if I covered this up and just listened, it was very strong. It doesn't need the visual. You need the visual. We don't need it. It's nice because you're nice to look at, which is more than we can say from a lot of people on radio, which is, you know. But yes. Oh, and just one other thing, just because I happen to work in health magazines for a long time, so I happen to know that hormone is serotonin. Serotonin is powerful, and it is so important, that hormone, with making you feel good and helping you succeed. So that's an important one to know. But just because I happen to know that one, I thought I would tell you.
In Portuguese is serotonina, so I'm trying to say.
What?
In Portuguese is serotonina, so some words that are similar,
oh, I see,
harder for me than words that are very different.
Well, you can say, in Portuguese this word is serotonina or whatever, but you know, you can say it. So if you feel like, I'm not sure how it's said in English, but it sounds like this, that's charming and totally adorable and no one cares. I just want to let you know, but it doesn't matter. So that's it. So you did it?
You did it.
Do it longer. I mean, it was terrific. 2 solid segments, great on your time. The only reason the outros were rough is because you decided they were rough. They weren't rough. They were totally fine. I've had people do very similar things, and did a great job. So if you want to do this again and do another, you know, and do another 2 segments and just bring in a larger crowd, just to, you know, more of your friends and stuff to get some more feedback, happy to do that too. But in my mind, you could do radio today if you wanted to. I just don't want you to think that for some reason you can't, because you just did it. All right, so I'm going to send you this recording. I want you to think about that, and then let me know what you'd like to do for next week.
Okay.
Okay? Great job, though. Excellent.
To listen to it without the visual, which I don't think I've ever listened to myself without visual.
Yes, I think it's important to put the headphones in and turn the screen off, turn the, you know, the brightener all the way down, and just listen to it.
I wonder if people can understand me without my expression, like.
That's totally you. If they can't understand you, it's because you need to go slower, not because they can't see your face. Because if that were true, as I said, no one would be on radio, because they'd say, well, we can't really get messages across without visual, so let's not do radio. Radio wouldn't exist. So as I said, you're not an exception to the rule, you're just coming around to this idea. So listen to it without looking at it and see what you think.
Okay, I would do that.
Wow, did a great job.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. Great.
Hi, thank you.
And I'll send you a link to this. Okay, bye, doll.
Bye.
Bye.